I finally told my sister no, expecting a tantrum. What I got instead was a chilling text message that would reveal a betrayal so profound it shattered our family forever. My sister Chloe has always treated me less like a sibling and more like a free 24/7 emergency service. Need a last-minute babysitter? Call me. Car broke down and need a ride an hour away? Call me. Forgot her wallet and needs me to pay for her groceries over the phone? You guessed it. For years, I was the reliable one. The one who would drop everything because, as she always said, that's what family is for. But family, in Chloe's dictionary, was a one-way street paved with her needs and my sacrifices. I finally decided to shut the street down for construction. The catalyst was a weekend I had been planning for months. I work from home as a graphic designer, and I'd landed a massive project with a punishing deadline. To get it done, I needed absolute, uninterrupted focus. I had my meals prepped, my social media apps deleted, and a giant "Do Not Disturb" sign mentally hung over my entire life for 72 hours. This project could be a career changer, and I was not going to let anything derail it. So of course, that Friday afternoon, my phone rang. The caller ID flashed, Chloe. I let out a sigh that felt like it came from the depths of my soul and answered. "Hey, what's up?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Oh my God, you are a lifesaver," she began, not even bothering with a hello. That's how it always started. Okay, so Kevin just surprised me with a couples retreat weekend. It's at that spa resort up in the mountains. You know the one? He booked it non-refundable, and we have to leave in like 2 hours. Isn't that so romantic? I stared at the intricate design on my monitor. Wow, Chloe, that's spontaneous. I know, right? So anyway, I need you to take the kids for the weekend, just until Sunday night. It would be a huge help. There it was. Not a question, but a declaration. A demand disguised as a casual request. My kids, Liam, who's 7, and Maya, who's 4, are sweet, but they are tornadoes of pure energy. My apartment is a small, quiet, one-bedroom space designed for one person and a cat. It was not a playground, and more importantly, I had my deadline. This was it, the moment of truth. "I can't, Chloe," I said, my voice firmer than I expected. Silence on the other end. It was so profound, I thought the call might have dropped. "What do you mean you can't?" she finally asked, her tone shifting from bubbly to icy. "I mean, I have a massive, career-defining work project due on Monday morning. I've been planning for this weekend for months. I absolutely cannot have any distractions. I'm sorry, but the timing is impossible." "A work project?" she scoffed, as if I'd just told her I needed the weekend to alphabetize my spice rack. "You can do that anytime. This is a non-refundable trip, and Kevin went to so much trouble. You're really going to ruin our weekend over some drawings on your computer?" The condescension in her voice lit a fuse. "They're not some drawings, Chloe. It's my job. It's how I pay my bills. The same bills you sometimes ask me to help you with. You can't just spring this on me with 2 hours' notice and expect me to drop everything." "Wow," she breathed, her voice dripping with manufactured hurt. "I can't believe how selfish you've become. What am I supposed to do? The kids are already excited. I told them they were going to have a fun weekend with Auntie." The emotional blackmail was a classic Chloe move. I felt the usual pang of guilt, but this time it was overshadowed by a hot surge of anger. "That's not fair, and you know it. You should have asked me before you made promises to your kids. I'm not the bad guy here for having my own life and commitments." "Fine," she snapped. "Fine, I'll figure something out. I always do. Don't worry. I won't bother my oh-so-busy and important sister ever again." And she hung up. I stood there for a moment, phone in my hand, my heart pounding. I felt awful, but also liberated. I had finally said no. I had protected my boundary. I took a deep breath, put my phone on silent, and dove back into my work, determined to put the drama behind me. For about an hour, there was blissful, productive silence. I was in the zone. The design was flowing. and I thought the crisis had been averted. Then my phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Chloe. My stomach clenched. I braced myself for another round of guilt tripping, but the message wasn't what I expected. It just said, "Don't worry about it anymore. Solve the problem. Kids are on their way to you now. The taxi is here. They'll be there in about 45 minutes. I stared at the screen, my blood turning to ice. A taxi. Chloe lived 40 miles away in a suburb with spotty public transport. A taxi ride to my downtown apartment would cost a fortune, money I knew for a fact she didn't have, and she was putting her 2 young children in a cab alone to be dropped off at my doorstep after I had explicitly told her no. I immediately mashed her number on my phone. It went straight to voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. I sent a flurry of frantic texts. "What do you mean a taxi? Chloe, answer your phone right now. You cannot do this." No response. A thick, choking panic started to rise in my throat. This was insane, even for her. It was reckless. It was dangerous. I was pacing my small living room, my mind racing through a dozen horrifying scenarios, when my phone rang again. An unknown number. My heart leaped, thinking it was the taxi driver. I answered, ready to scream, to give them my address, to tell them to turn around, anything. "Hello?" I yelled into the phone. There was a pause, and then a man's voice, low and angry and definitely not a professional driver, came through the speaker. "Yeah, hello, who is this?" he demanded. "Some crazy lady just put 2 little kids in my car, pointed down the street, and told me to drive them to 1450 Oak Street, and that the woman who lived there would pay me $500. Her name is apparently Auntie." My blood ran cold. For a second, the world seemed to tilt and go silent, all the sounds sucked out into a vacuum. 1450 Oak Street. That was my address. $500. The amount was so specific, so transactional, it made my stomach churn. Chloe hadn't just sent them, she'd sold their delivery to a complete stranger. "Are they okay?" I choked out, my voice a raw whisper. "The children, are they in the car with you right now? Are they okay?" "Yeah, they're in the back, crying their eyes out," the man grumbled. "The little one anyway, the boy's just staring out the window. Look, lady, I don't know what kind of family drama this is, and I don't care. I was mowing my lawn and this woman in a minivan pulls up, frantic, says her sister is expecting her kids, and the cab canceled. She shoves this wad of cash in my hand, $100, and says there's 500 more waiting for me at the destination. She seemed desperate. I felt bad for her. Now I'm thinking I'm a real idiot." "You are not an idiot, you are. You are my only hope right now," I stammered, my brain kicking back into gear, adrenaline surging through me like an electric current. "Okay, please, just stay right where you are. Do not go anywhere. What's your name?" "It's Mark," he said, his tone softening slightly. He was angry, but he didn't sound malicious. He sounded like a regular guy who'd been duped into a nightmare. "Can you just tell me what's going on? Is someone going to pay me?" "Yes, I will pay you. I will pay you whatever you want. Just please let me talk to my nephew." My hand was shaking so violently I had to brace it against the wall. I heard a fumbling noise and then Mark's voice, muffled, "Here, your aunt wants to talk to you." A tiny, trembling voice came on the line. "Auntie? Liam, oh honey, are you okay? Is Maya with you?" "Yes," he sniffled. "Mommy said we were going to your house for a super fun surprise. She said the taxi man would take us, but he's not a taxi man, and Maya's scared." Tears streamed down my face, hot with fury and fear. "I know, baby, I know. It was a mistake. But it's going to be okay. I'm going to come and get you. Can you be very brave for me and for Maya?" "Okay," he whispered. "Let me talk to Mark again, honey." The man's voice returned. "Listen, lady, I'm at the corner of Willow Creek and the main highway. I'm not hanging around here for long. It feels weird." "Don't move," I commanded, my voice now sharp and focused. "Do not move an inch. I'm leaving right now. But you are not driving to my house. I'm not having you know where I live." The words came out before I could think, a raw instinct for self-preservation. "We meet somewhere public, somewhere safe. I frantically tried calling Chloe again, straight to voicemail. I tried Kevin. Same thing, of course. They were probably already at the spa, phones off, sipping champagne while their children were in a stranger's car on the side of a highway. The rage was so profound it almost made me dizzy. My eyes scanned my living room and landed on the framed photo of me and Chloe as kids. For a split second, I wanted to smash it. Instead, I took a deep breath. I had to think. What was the safest possible place? A mall? A grocery store? No. There was only one answer. The police station, I said to Mark. The main one downtown on Elm Street. Do you know where that is? There was a long pause. The police? Are you kidding me? I haven't done anything wrong here. I know, I said, trying to sound as reassuring as possible. That's the point. It's the safest place for everyone. There are cameras everywhere. You will be safe, and I will know the kids are safe. I will walk up to your car in the parking lot. I will give you the $500 in cash, and I will take the children. No tricks, no trouble. I just want my niece and nephew back. He was silent for a moment, considering it. Okay, he said finally. Okay, the police station on Elm. What kind of car are you driving? A blue Honda Civic. I'm leaving right now. I can be there in 30 minutes. Don't hang up. Keep the line open. I'm not wasting my battery, he grunted. Just get here. I'm in a beat-up green Ford pickup truck. You can't miss it. He hung up. I didn't waste a second. I grabbed my purse, my keys, and sprinted out of my apartment, not even bothering to lock the door. My half-finished project glowed on my monitor, completely forgotten. The 30-minute drive was the longest of my life. My mind was a screaming white void of what-ifs. What if he panics? What if he just leaves them? What if he's not who he says he is? I dialed 911 twice, my thumb hovering over the call button, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring the police into this until I had the kids. Bringing them in now could escalate things, scare him off. This was on me to fix. When I finally pulled into the brightly lit parking lot of the police station, my heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I scanned the rows of cars, my eyes desperate, and then I saw it. Tucked away in the corner was a dented forest green Ford pickup truck. Relief washed over me so intensely my knees felt weak. He was here. He waited. I parked my car a few spots away, took a deep, shaky breath, and got out, holding my purse with the cash inside. I started walking towards the truck, my steps feeling heavy and slow. I could see a man in the driver's seat, his silhouette dark against the evening sky. But as I got closer, a cold dread began to creep up my spine, replacing the relief. Something was wrong. The truck wasn't just parked. It was running. A low rumble in the quiet lot. And then the man, Mark, suddenly threw his door open and scrambled out, his face pale with panic. He looked right at me, his eyes wide with terror, and he just pointed a shaking finger toward his truck before backing away. I followed his gaze, and my heart stopped dead in my chest. The back doors of the pickup truck, where Liam and Maya should have been, were swung wide open. The back seat was completely empty. Where are they? The words ripped from my throat, a raw, ragged sound that echoed in the sterile quiet of the parking lot. Mark, where are my niece and nephew? He was stammering, his hands flapping uselessly at his sides. I don't know. 1 minute they were there, the next. He pointed frantically toward the main entrance of the police station. The little girl, she had to use the potty. She kept crying about it. The boy said he could take her. I told them to be quick, to just go in the front door and come right back out. I thought, it's a police station. What's safer than a police station? My mind was a roaring inferno of panic. How long ago? I demanded, already moving, breaking into a run towards the glass doors. I don't know. 5 minutes? 10? Tops? I was on the phone with my wife telling her what a mess this was, and when I looked up, they hadn't come back out. I was just about to go in when you pulled up. I didn't wait to hear the rest. I burst through the doors of the station, my eyes darting wildly around the lobby. It was sparsely populated at this hour, a couple of officers behind a high desk, a woman filling out a form, a janitor mopping the floor. but no children. No sign of a 7-year-old boy with dark, curly hair holding the hand of his 4-year-old sister with a bright pink bow. "My niece and nephew!" I yelled, my voice cracking with desperation as I ran to the front desk. "They're missing. A little boy and a little girl. They came in here to use the bathroom just a few minutes ago." One of the officers, a woman with a stern but weary face, stood up immediately. "Ma'am, calm down. What do they look like?" I gave her their descriptions, my words tumbling over each other in a frantic rush. I described Maya's pink jacket and Liam's blue dinosaur hoodie. The officer spoke calmly into her radio, her voice a stark contrast to the chaos in my head. Another officer came out from a back room. They were taking it seriously, but every second that ticked by felt like an eternity. "We'll check the restrooms and review the security footage from the entrance," the female officer said, trying to sound reassuring. "Did they come in alone?" The question hit me like a physical blow. The shame, the guilt, it was suffocating. "Yes," I whispered. Their ride was waiting for them outside." I couldn't bring myself to explain the whole sordid story, not yet. All that mattered was finding them. Mark had followed me inside, and he was now trying to explain his side to the other officer, his voice shaky and defensive. I couldn't focus on him. My entire being was concentrated on the hallway that led to the public restrooms. I paced back and forth, wringing my hands, my eyes glued to that hallway. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Chloe. I ignored it. I swiped the call away with a shaking thumb, my rage a cold, hard knot in my chest. A few minutes later, or maybe it was an hour, I had lost all track of time. The second officer returned from the hallway. His face was grim. My stomach plummeted. "Ma'am," he said, his voice gentle, "we've searched the restrooms and the public areas. There's no sign of them." "What about the security cameras?" I pleaded, my voice barely a whisper. "You have to have them on camera." "We're pulling the footage now," the first officer said. "It'll just be a moment." We stood there in a horrifying, suspended silence. I could hear the faint buzz of the fluorescent lights, the crackle of the police radio, the frantic thumping of my own heart. And then finally, the officer motioned for me to come behind the desk. On a monitor, grainy black and white footage played. My breath hitched as I saw them. There was Liam, his small shoulders squared with responsibility, holding Maya's tiny hand tightly in his. They walked through the glass doors, just as Mark had said. Liam paused, looked around the lobby, and then purposefully led his little sister down the hall toward the restrooms. They looked so small, so vulnerable. "Okay," the officer said, fast-forwarding the footage. "And here they are, coming back out." My heart leaped with a desperate hope. I saw them emerge from the hallway. Liam was still holding Maya's hand, but they didn't turn back towards the exit. Instead, Liam seemed to be looking at something, or someone, off camera. He hesitated for a moment, and then a figure entered the frame from the right side of the lobby, a side that wasn't visible from the front desk. It was a woman. She was wearing a baseball cap pulled down low and large sunglasses, even though it was dark outside. She knelt down, and I saw Liam's posture relax. He recognized her. He let go of Maya's hand and took a step forward. The woman spoke to him, her face obscured from the camera's angle. Then she straightened up, took Maya's hand in one of hers, and gestured with the other towards a side exit I hadn't even noticed, one that led to a different part of the parking lot. Liam followed her without a second's hesitation. The three of them disappeared through the door. "Who is that woman?" the officer asked, her voice tight with urgency. "Do you recognize her?" I stared at the screen, my mind refusing to process what I was seeing. The way she moved, the slope of her shoulders, the cheap, oversized sweatshirt. It was all chillingly familiar. I tried to see her face, to find a distinguishing feature, but the cap and glasses hid everything. And yet I knew with a certainty that was as cold and sharp as a shard of glass in my gut. "Freeze it," I said, my voice hollow. "Zoom in on her hand, the one she's holding my niece with." The officer clicked the mouse. The image pixelated, but it was clear enough. On the woman's right wrist was a distinctive tattoo, a string of ugly, faded daisies that wrapped around her wrist like a cheap bracelet. I felt the last of the air leave my lungs. I knew those daisies. I was there when she got that tattoo on a drunken spring break trip when she was 19. "It's my sister," I whispered, the words tasting like poison. "It's Chloe." The police officers exchanged a look of disbelief. "Ma'am, are you sure?" one of them asked gently. "Your sister is the one who put them in the stranger's car in the first place?" "Yes," I said, the single word a dead weight in my mouth. My mind was reeling, trying to assemble the jagged pieces of this insane puzzle. Why? Why would she do this? Why orchestrate this entire terrifying charade? Was it some kind of sick test? A twisted way to punish me for saying no? My phone buzzed again. Chloe. This time, I answered, my hand trembling with a rage so pure it felt like ice. I put it on speakerphone so the officers could hear. "Finally," she chirped, her voice sickeningly cheerful. "I was getting worried. Did you get the kids? Is everything okay?" The sheer audacity of her question stole my breath. "Where are you, Chloe?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. "What? We're on our way to the resort, silly. We're about an hour out. Why? Did something happen?" Mark, the taxi guy, seemed a little weird on the phone. "Stop lying," I said, my voice dropping to a low growl. The officers were watching me, their faces grim. "We know you were just here. We have you on camera, Chloe. We saw you take them from the police station." The silence on the other end of the line was absolute. I could almost hear the gears turning in her head, the frantic search for a new lie, a new manipulation. When she finally spoke, her bubbly persona was gone, replaced by a whining, defensive tone. "Oh, that? I can explain," she started, her voice rushed. "Okay, so after you were so horrible to me, I was panicking. Kevin was getting upset and I didn't know what to do. So I found that guy, Mark, and told him to take the kids. But then I started to feel bad about it. I felt guilty. I knew you were probably mad, and I didn't want to ruin your weekend. So I told Kevin to drive me to your city so I could pick them up before they even got to you. I was trying to fix it. I was trying to be a good sister and take the burden off of you." It was the most convoluted, self-serving logic I had ever heard. You fixed it by having a stranger drive your children 40 miles, then intercepting them at a police station and disappearing. I countered, my voice rising. "None of that makes sense, Chloe. Where are the kids now?" "They're with me. They're fine," she insisted. "They're in the back seat watching a movie. See, it's all fine. I solved the problem. You can go back to your precious drawings now. No harm, no foul. There is harm and there is a foul, Chloe," I yelled, finally losing control. "You terrorized me. You put your children in incredible danger. You lied to the police. This isn't a game." "I have my children and they are safe. That's all that matters," she said coldly. "You're just being dramatic, as usual." The lead officer held up a hand, signaling for me to stop. She spoke into the phone, her voice leaving no room for argument. "Ma'am, this is Officer Davies with the City Police Department. We have video evidence of you orchestrating what appears to be a kidnapping. You are to turn your vehicle around and return to this station immediately with the children. If you fail to comply, we will issue an Amber Alert, and you will be arrested for felony child endangerment and filing a false report." Chloe's gasp was audible. The threat of real legal consequences was something she had never encountered before. The reliable family safety net had always been there to catch her. Now that net was gone, and she was facing a concrete floor. "This is ridiculous," she sputtered. "It's a family misunderstanding." "It stopped being a misunderstanding the moment you put your children in a stranger's car," Officer Davies replied flatly. "You have 1 hour." She hung up. The next hour was a blur of police reports and shaky statements. I told them everything, the years of manipulation, the constant demands, the call that started it all. Mark, who had been cleared of any wrongdoing, gave his statement and left, looking like a man who would never do a favor for a stranger again. I refused to leave. I sat on a hard plastic chair in the lobby, my project and my deadline a distant memory. The only thing in the world that mattered was the sight of Liam and Maya walking back through those doors. Just under an hour later, Kevin's SUV pulled up. Chloe got out of the passenger side, refusing to look at me. Kevin opened the back doors and my two beautiful, exhausted children tumbled out. I ran to them, scooping Maya into my arms and pulling Liam into a tight hug. They were okay. They were rumpled and tear-streaked, but they were safe. The aftermath was brutal. Chloe and Kevin were taken into separate rooms for questioning. Child Protective Services was called. I spent hours with a social worker detailing the long history of Chloe's recklessness and her pattern of using her children as pawns in her emotional games. It was the hardest conversation of my life, laying my family's dysfunction bare under the fluorescent lights of a government office. But I knew it was necessary. In the end, Chloe wasn't arrested that night. But a formal CPS investigation was launched. She and Kevin were ordered into mandatory parenting classes and family counseling. A temporary custody order was put in place, giving their paternal grandparents primary care until the investigation was complete. Chloe was furious, screaming that I had betrayed her, that I had destroyed her family. But as I buckled Liam and Maya into my car that night, their little heads already nodding with exhaustion, I knew I hadn't destroyed anything. I had saved them. I looked at their sleeping faces in my rearview mirror as I drove them to their grandparents' house, a safe harbor in the storm my sister had created. The bond of sisterhood, the one I had cherished and sacrificed for my entire life, was broken, perhaps irreparably. But in its place, something new was growing, a fierce, unwavering resolve. I was no longer just the reliable aunt. I was their protector, and I would never, ever let them be put in a taxi again,